Hello and welcome to today's skill acquisition screencast. Focus is going to be on classification of skills. Now, those of you who have done GCSE PE will have some understanding of these continuums. Now, I'm not sure, different specifications would have done different continuums. What we have to know for A-level PE is we have to know 6 continuums. Each continuum has a name: difficulty, environmental influence, pacing, muscular involvement, continuity, organisation. Each of these continuums will have 2 ends. Okay, so I'll put them onto here for you, as you can see across here. And what we have to be able to do is give sporting, or you have to be able to explain each classification from a continuum with a sporting example alongside it. Okay, now this is a standalone topic, classification skills, but it's also a hugely important topic for further study in both skill acquisition and sports psychology, because if a coach is trying to design a practice, use a practice type, they have to know the types of skills they are using in order to pick the most effective practice type. And also, as we go through the different sports psychology topics, you have to use these classifications of skills as evaluation points. A really, really important lesson. So let's have a look then. First one, environmental influence. Okay, so when we see the environmental influence, that's the name of the continuum. At each end, we've got a classification of skills. So we've got open skills, closed skills. Now, when working out the difference between them, you have to ask yourself this question: are the skills affected by the environment? Now, a key thing to make a note of here, we're talking about the environment for the majority of the time in skill acquisition. We're talking about environment as teammates or opposition, certainly in games or open type games, so things like football, rugby, basketball. That is what we are talking about. I would like you or advise you to avoid using the weather. It is not something that you get much credit for, and it can get you very confused. So let's leave the weather. I will bring you into the lesson the times when this can be used, but everything we look at really is going to be looking at environment with regard to teammates and opposition. So let's have a look then. Open skills. So are they affected by the environment? In this case, an open skill is affected by the environment. Okay, so skills are affected by the environment. For example, receiving a pass in football, rugby, netball, because the environment in this case involves 2 things. We're thinking about receiving a pass. Well, first of all, our teammate is absolutely affecting whether we can receive the pass. Okay. Secondly, the position of the defenders or the opponent will dictate whether we can receive the pass. So that is why it's affected by the environment. On the flip side to that, a closed skill are those skills that are not affected by the environment. And of course, in this case, there are no teammates and there are no opposition, so there is nothing really from the environment that will affect us. So in this case, we could look at something such as a shot put or a free throw in basketball, because a shot put has no opposition, no teammates. A free throw in basketball is a set shot, a free throw, where there's no defenders. Okay, so the defenders are not allowed to try and stop the shot. Therefore, there are no teammates and there are no opposition trying to stop it. That is why it's a closed skill. Now, if we go down, there's another continuum, and this continuum is called the pacing continuum. Now, when you look at the pacing continuum, you have to consider that there are either going to be externally paced skills or self-paced skills. And the key question you ask yourself this time is, does the performer or the environment control the timing of a skill? Okay, so this is the key question. So if a skill is externally paced, okay, the environment controls the timing of the skill. Okay, so what does that mean? If you'll go back to this example here, receiving a pass or making a pass in football, rugby, netball, hockey, whichever sport evasion game you want to add on to that, the environment controls the time of the skill because your teammate controls when you receive the ball. You don't control when you receive the ball. When they pass it, that will, dictate when the timing of the skill. Okay, so you don't control that. All right, so that's that one. And of course, quite easily, then we go over to self-paced skills. Self-paced skills are where the performer themselves controls the timing of the skill. Now, this is usually, or pretty much always, linked to closed skills. So anything which doesn't have teammates or opposition are good examples of self-paced skills. So for example, you've got here a shot put or a free throw. I'll try to keep the same as here. It could be discus, it could be hammer in athletics. But these things that have no environment that is controlling the timing, you control when you put the shot. You control when you take the free throw. That is what we're looking at there. So there's your first 2. first two continuums. Let's move on to the next ones. Organisation then. So the organisation continuum is split into high organisation skills and low organisation skills. And the question that you're asking yourself with this one is, can the skill be separated into subroutines, or organised into subroutines, you might say. So what we're looking at here then is, for a high organisation skill, it's basically saying that the skill, sorry, we'll start with low organisation, low organisation skills are those that can be broken down into subroutines. So because of the fact that they have low organisation, it means that they can be broken up and separated into subroutines. So you're looking at things now, thinking of sports skills where they've got several subroutines joined together to make one skill. You're thinking of things like triple jump, okay? So low organisation skills are those that can be broken down into subroutines. High organisation skills, on the other hand, then, are skills that cannot be broken down into subroutines. They're so highly organised and smooth and fluid, they can't be broken down into subroutines. So things like that, you're looking at something like a golf swing. Okay, so if you imagine a golf tee shot, okay, when you swing through that, it cannot be broken into subroutines. It's one fluid swing action. Likewise, a shot put will go from, from I suppose your chest area, and then you'll put that out, so in one movement. So there's examples of those. Now, you're only looking at things like this. Another example for low organisation skill, you could put a layup, because that has the run up, the 2 steps, and then the shot. So that is an example of 3 subroutines joined in to make one skill, which is the layup, if you want to put that as an extra one. Next one, if we go through from here then, let's have a look at the difficulty continuum. Now the difficulty continuum, the question you're asking yourself, of course, you can't say how difficult it is. What we have to use is some technical terminology that would, I suppose, determine how difficult a skill is. We have to ask ourselves, how much decision making, e.g., how many decisions might you have to make with this skill, what information you have to process, and finally, the perceptual load that the skill has. So that perceptual basically means judgment or interpretation of the height, the speed of something, for example, or the direction, the trajectory, and these type of things. So let's have a look at what we're looking at there. Simple skills. Now, simple skills tend to link to things that are closed. Okay, so if we look onto here, skills that have low levels of decision making or perceptual load or information processing. So these simple skills are things that have one set routine and are not affected by any environmental influences. So you're looking at things like shot put, sprinting. Okay, there is not multiple decisions in sprinting. You hear the gun and you sprint. Okay, so that is something that is relatively simple. Large muscle groups, easy activities. Flip that over to complex skills. Okay, these are skills that have high levels of decision making and perceptual load. So we're looking now at, for example, what we've used before, a somersault in gymnastics, for example, is complex because you have to interpret the speed at which you rotate. Passing, whether you're receiving or making a pass in football, netball, hockey, rugby, that's a complex skill because you have to interpret the speed, the trajectory, what angle the ball's being passed at, the spin that's on it. All these things are considered complex because of the decision-making, perceptual load, and information processing that will be required in order to receive or make a successful pass in an invasion game sport. Going on from there then, let's go to muscular involvement. So a muscular involvement continuum is on a continuum of gross skills at one end, fine skills on the other. The question that you ask yourself is, how big are the muscle movements, or does the skill use small or large muscle movements? That's the key descriptors there. So gross skills then are skills that use fine skills are skills that use small, intricate muscle movements. So these are things such as archery, rifle shooting. So if we look on there, you can put your own examples if you can think of one, but they use really small, intricate movements. Going on from there then, the opposite to rifle shooting or archery is gross skills. Now, gross skills use large muscle movements. So what we're looking at here then, are we looking at things such as a shot put. Okay, so shot put, let's say a clean and jerk in weightlifting, those type of things. So key thing, does a skill use small or large muscle movements? Gross, large, fine, small, and then examples from those. Final one then is the continuity continuum. Now the continuity continuum basically asks the following question. Can the skill, or does the skill, have a clear beginning and end? Okay, so is there a start point and an end point that you can obviously see in the skill execution? So if we look at it, let's start off at the far end here. A discrete skill is one where there is a clear beginning and end. So we're looking something like here, a pass in football, a shot in football, a shot in basketball, a shot put in athletics, a discus in athletics. You can see where it starts, see where it ends, done. A serial skill basically uses several subroutines joined together, okay, to make one skill execution. So you're looking here now, you're looking at something like a triple jump. You could maybe have a layup in basketball. It's identical really to a low organisation skill. And finally, we have a continuous skill. Now, if you think of it now, does a skill have a clear beginning and end? Well, this one is a skill that is cyclical, and basically there is no clear beginning and end. And this is anything like a running action, a cycling action, because it's just a continuous rotation and you can't really see where one cycle ends and another one starts. So there's no clear beginning and end, and they will be the examples to use there. You can make good notes on these then. We'll have a look in lesson at applying them to some different examples and making sure we understand the types of exam questions you might get. Okay, thank you.